Okay, so if you're like me, then you think the stock number plate holder on a Tesla Model 3 doesn't look that good. It sticks out quite far and often the number plate falls so that it's not very level inside it. So I wanted to replace it with a vinyl number plate. I think they look much better and I've heard that they're quite easy to fit. So here's a video of me fitting it and you can follow along as this is in real time. Now I have to say, disclaimer for the end of the video, I'm really not very happy with my install. I think I did a really bad job. So the reason I'm making this video is so that you don't make the same mistakes that I made. So to get the number plate out, you remove the bottom layer of the number plate holder, you just click it out towards you. There's then two screws, one on the left and on the right, that releases the plate that holds the number plate in position. And then under that there are two bolts that attach this holder to the car, and these are just screwed directly into the plastic behind. I couldn't quite get a spanner on it, so I had to just use some pliers, and they did come out quite easily. And once it's off, you can see that there's a much cleaner bumper underneath without this big number plate holder attached. There are two small holes left behind from where they attach the plate, but these are quite easy to fill in. So first of all, just giving it a good clean underneath, and then it's time to try and fill those holes. Now I've heard people using some sort of putty, but I don't have that to hand, so I just used a bit of sandpaper to sand them down so that they were flush, as there was a little bit of plastic sticking up, which would have just then created an air bubble behind. And then you just need to seal the holes to stop air coming in. And again, I'm not a professional installer here, but what I did is I used some bicycle rim tape, which is essentially just an airtight tape, so I'm sure other tapes would work as well. So I just made sure it was really nice and clean underneath. I used a degreaser spray just to really clean off any oil residues that might be on the bumper and stop the number plate and the tape adhering to it. And then once I was happy that it was nice and clean, it was time to put on the rim tape as discussed. Now I know that you're going to be able to see, if you get close up to the number plate, a slight raise here, but I'm not going for perfection, I'm just going for a much better solution than the stock number plate. So next it's time to actually line up the vinyl plate and to decide where to stick it. So I've just marked the center and I'm just basing it on where the Tesla logo is. And I'm just going to then use some tape to hold it in position whilst I work on it and just work out exactly where I want it to be. So here I'm just making sure it's in the center and making sure that it's level as well. So I'm happy with my position, I'm happy that it's level. So my technique was to go for a dry install rather than a wet install. So it's a bit riskier installing, but I think it requires less skill. Well, so I thought at this point. So I'm just taping the number plate in place so that I know that it's exactly where I want it to be and that it's not going to move. And then now it's crunch time, it's time to peel off the back tape and get the number plate in position. So at this point I think it's going well. I've got the tape on so that I know it's level, I'm pulling it taut and I'm just sticking the first bit of the number plate down. Once I'm happy that that's stuck, I then remove the tape on the left hand side and very slowly peel off the backing tape, and just making sure to press the number plate down firmly as I go along, not to get any air bubbles trapped. And instantly here I've got an air bubble, so I'm just pulling it off a little bit, and any professional installers I'm sure will be wincing at this point, but I'm not a professional installer and neither are you, and you're wanting to do this yourself. So I am pushing out the air bubbles as I go. And it's at this point I realise I've got a big problem. There's a massive air bubble. I try and peel it off, and as you can see, a bit of the plate remains stuck to the bumper. So the install really isn't going to plan at this point, but I've kind of got no choice. I'm both feet in and I've just got to crack on. So I carry on pushing to the end and just trying to get as few air bubbles as possible getting to the end. Then I take a step back and think it looks alright. Now it's crunch time. I measure it and realise that somehow it's not level. I have no idea how this happened, and I don't really know, watching this footage back, even how it's happened. It was completely level when I started peeling off the backing tape, and by the time I got to the end it's now about 1 centimetre off and there are a few air bubbles in it. So I'm just pushing out the air bubbles and accepting my fate that either I should have got a professional to install this, or maybe I should have looked into doing a wet install. And at this point I'm feeling fairly dejected as it doesn't look that great. But I have to say, it's a few weeks later now when I'm recording this voiceover, and when you're up close, sure, there are a few air bubbles, and if a professional walks past my car and looks at it, they're probably going to laugh. But when you take a step back, and once the car's a little bit dirty and you look at it from a distance, it really isn't noticeable, and I still think it looks a lot better than the stock option. So there you go, you can install your own vinyl number plate. You're probably going to do a better job of it than me, but even if you don't and you do a bad job, then it's still going to look better than the stock plate in my opinion. If you've liked this video, then please consider subscribing, as I've got lots more Tesla content on the way.